because every deal's different. And after all, you only need one good idea. It changes your life forever. Kevin O'Leary is an entrepreneur, author, and investor who is well known for his role in the television shows Shark Tank. You're in. Get the out of here.
No.
In Canada's The Dragon's Den, I'm missing the part where I make money. The only thing that matters, okay, is the part where I make money, and there is no part where I make money. Okay, you sucked. I gotta tell you that. Absolutely sucked. He started his entrepreneurship career as a video producer. He created a film to help advertise his MBA school as he negotiated school credits for the production of the video. After graduating, he began a video production company called Set, or Special Events Television. He soon sold his share of the company and started his learning software company called Softkey. In 1999, Mattel bought his company for $4.2 billion, making them a multi-millionaire. He's dedicated his life after to investing and growing his wealth, as he is now estimated to be worth around $400 million. And today, we are taking a look at his philosophies for becoming rich in today's episode of The Betterment Project. Number 1. Don't do it for the money. Do it for the freedom. My number 1 message to entrepreneurs, and I teach today, is never pursue entrepreneurship for the greed of money. It has nothing to do with it at all. The whole reason to be an entrepreneur is the pursuit of freedom. That's why you do it. You do it because you want to be free one day to do whatever you like. I'm here because I want to be here. I don't have to be here. I don't have to ever listen to a phone call again if I don't want to. That's not what I want to do. I enjoy spending my time doing the things that I want to do. And I deserve it because I worked like hell to get here. And so I'm a huge, advocate of capitalism. I defend entrepreneurship every day. When people say you don't deserve that, I say bullshit. I deserve everything because I started with this. Everything I have, I created myself, and I deserve what I have, and I feel ferociously about that. And I tell other entrepreneurs, do not be embarrassed about success. Wear it, own it, it's yours and you deserve it. Number 2, don't be an employee unless you are a very good one. Now, I've seen you say that being an employee never has a good outcome. Would you like to elaborate on that? A really good employee ends up with equity because they're so invaluable you don't want to lose them. And that's the right way to look at it. They're either partners or they're costs. So what happens to employees in companies? The minute they're hired, there's somebody in that organization trying to figure out how to fire them. That's what's going on. That's what happens in all companies because they're costing money for the shareholders. And I think you have to be realistic. So if you're an employee, you have to make sure you get up every morning and create value in the business you're in, or you're going to get fired. Number 3, to be able to create success, you've got to make sacrifices. I'm not sure how you're going to take this story, but I'm going to tell it to you anyways, okay? End of a class, 9 at night, 600 people. There's a fellow up at the top puts up his hand and say, Mr. O'Leary, look, I have to ask you a question. I haven't said anything all class, but I'm really hurting. Can you help me? And I said, what's your problem? Class goes dead silent because it's not going to be about business. And he said, today, my fiancé came to me and said that I have to make a decision between our relationship and the business. And I said, oh, I'm not Dr. Phil here, but let's hear it. This guy had in his dorm room in undergrad engineering built an online cloud-based compliance tool for hedge funds with under $250 million to help them reduce their costs. It's a subscription service. The guy had a run rate of $5 million. He hadn't even graduated yet. I'm licking my chops at this business. This is fantastic. And then he said, but I have no time. And I never see my fiancée. She wants me to come be with the family on Sundays just once. But I'm doing my compliance downloads on Sundays, and I have to deal with my customers because I got a bad class at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Now the class is looking at me saying, okay, big guy, what's the answer? I said, everybody, let's be pragmatic. Which is easier to replace? Your business or your fiancé? And the shit hit the fan. But let me ask you something. Clearly that match was not right, because if you're going to get into a relationship with an entrepreneur, man or woman, it doesn't matter. You have to understand what drives them. It's not going to be a successful union. It's not going to work. I think he made the right decision. Number 4, focus on the cash flow. What's the value of a stock that never returns capital to its shareholders? I don't know, because the only way you can make money is if somebody else is willing to buy that position at a higher price for some emotional reason perhaps, or for some, foresight that maybe the company will return capital one day. And I think of when you learn as an investor over multiple decades is the only thing that matters is free cash flow. That's it. There is no other reason to own stock. And with that philosophy, it brings you into a place where you focus on a company's ability to generate incremental cash flow, because just owning a dividend-paying stock is not good enough. Because, let's say we find a stock today that's paying a 3% dividend yield, and tomorrow, because its forecast for sales get cut in half, the stock drops by 50%. Now it's yielding 6%. I don't want to own that stock either. So my tests in this index that I've, created with FTSE Russell looks at the balance sheet. Every year we test to make sure that the company is viable in its ability to generate cash. This is extremely conservative investing. This is for the long haul. These tools are not for, as you're suggesting, for spicy, the hot stock du jour. I've done that. I've been there. Let the young legs do that. I have zero interest in that. I don't care what the hot new stock is. When a company comes public, I won't own it either. It's got to prove to me over multiple years that it can continue to generate cash before it even fits into what I'm doing. So I'm really boring, and I like it that way. Number 5, limit your risk. No more than 5% weighting in any one stock, ever. No more than 20% weighting in any one sector, ever. That's how I run my life. That when you ask me about gold, 5%. You ask me about any name I own, 5%. I don't care how great the story is. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care how emotionally sound it is. I'm selling when it hits the 5% weighting. I'm out. Number 6, the 3 steps to raise money from investors. Whenever I talk about Shark Tank, these are the 3 attributes you find in every successful pitch. By the minute, let me give you the time. The ones that work, the ones that get a check, does not determine the outcome of the business. These are the ones that get a check, that actually start their journey funded on Shark Tank, that go into the ecosphere Shark Tank, that get followed every year by all the networks, that get all the daytime television and all that stuff because they got an investor. In every case, they're able to articulate the idea in 90 seconds or less. Every single time they were able to say, most of them are 60 seconds. They say, look, I'm from Cohasset, Massachusetts. I put cupcakes in a jar and I FedEx them to people. I get it. The ones that ramble on and can't get the idea out, and it's still 10 minutes later and we're still wondering, what are they talking about? They never get funded. So that's number 1. That only is 90 seconds. The next segment is the part of discovery where they explain to you, and I generally only invest in teams now. I like the yin and yang of 2 partners that bring different skill sets, but they explain over, let's say, a 10-minute period why they're the right people to execute the business plan. And this ends up being very important, because when those 2 come together, you can start to see, I can see Cuban over on my right starting to make noise, and Barbara's starting to get excited over here because, wait a minute, these guys know what they're doing. I love the idea. They know what they're doing. They have a high probability of success. But here's the killer, and this is where you can spend an hour, 2 hours. And sometimes you do. We do. There are some legendary cases that have gone past 2 hours. By now, there's a competition going on. There's going to be an investment. It's just who's going to do it. It's going to do it. And what do we get it on? What are the terms? But then the discovery and the one where they fall. I've seen so many presentations crash and burn here. The numbers. They don't know their numbers. And if you show up in front of me in Shark Tank and you get past phase 1 and 2 and we spend an hour, and you don't know what the risk margins are, you don't know what the break-even analysis is, you don't know how many competitors you have, you don't know how fast the market is growing. If you don't have the answer to all those questions, I should put you in hell in perpetuity. You should burn in hell because you got there. You're on the carpet. You're there about to start your journey and you don't know your numbers. A meteor execution. I mean, that's unbelievably stupid. And as always, thank you for watching and I will see you in the next video.